Keisha Muscal. Keisha, big up yourself. Marketing manager at Victoria Mutual will be with me throughout this evening's program. But first, some housekeeping. Keisha?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. As Coach Victor mentioned, my name is Keisha Maskell. I'm the marketing manager for Victoria Mutual. And we just want to run you through some housekeeping matters and get started on the information you need to make big moves in your life. Now, Coach would have just mentioned making moves, and it really is intended to be an informative in our normal setting, one that you can talk and have real conversation, touch and all of that. But we're in COVID time, so we have to do it the digital way. So we've switched over to digital because we find that it's important to give you the information. So we want to have real talk today. Jump into the chat on each channel, whichever one you're on. Ask your questions. We will answer as many as possible. 15 minutes are allotted to each speaker. Questions will be taken after each presentation. 10 minutes will be allotted for question and answer. Now, all questions may not be answered live. So just indicate who you want to ask the question. We'll make sure they answer. And if you don't hear the response to your question right away, be assured we are going to be sending you those answers. Log on to the channel, indicate your information, and we can send you the answers. Tell us who you are, what your question is. We'll take care of that for you. There is one big thing that we have to touch on. This is a PG rated, we're calling it PG rated family live. So please, no profanity, keep your questions clean. We want to make sure that everybody walks away with it, edified and with the information they need to make big moves in their lives. So our first speaker this afternoon is Mr. Davy Martin. Now, Davy Martin, for those of you KC Purple people, is an alumni of KC. He joined the VM Wealth team in May 2019, and in his role as manager for asset management, he was responsible for optimizing the risk-adjusted returns of the various portfolios to maximize customer value. So he's the one who does the work in the background to make sure you're getting the best for your money when you invest with VM. Now, Davy has over 18 years of experience in the financial industry, with his most recent position before joining VM Wealth being manager trading at NCB Cap Markets. Davy is an avid sport fan and a long-suffering Arsenal supporter. Hush, Davy. He also enjoys going to the beach and spending time with his family. We were just talking about his 1-year-old who, is rambunctious, so he has to hide away to be able to give you that information today. He holds a master's in business administration with a focus on banking, in finance from the Mona School of Business, and a BSc in management studies and accounting at UWI. So Davy, over to you. We want to hear what's good in the market these days. People are fearful, but we know that you have some good news for everybody listening in.
All right, thank you very much, Keisha. Thank you, guys. Good evening, everyone. Just want to extend a very warm welcome. So as Keisha would have outlined, I'm the manager for asset management at Victoria Mutual Wealth Management Limited. And this evening, I'm just going to be going through how we invest in COVID times, try and give you some tips, essentially look at what a portfolio is and how you go about creating a portfolio and ensuring that the portfolio that you create is suited to your risk appetite. So I'm just going to quickly jump into it. So Keisha would have outlined the housekeeping rules. So questions I will take after the presentation. So let me just quickly jump into the presentation. All right, so firstly, my topic, as I said, my job this evening is just to give some pointers on what to do during these very tumultuous times. So the topic, as I said, is investing opportunities in times of COVID. So firstly, I want to touch on what a portfolio is, how you construct a portfolio, the type of considerations you have around your portfolio creation, and then I'll look at some sample portfolios as well as some events that have happened in financial markets during the history, some events that have happened over the course of the last several decades, and touch on just how those events unfolded and exactly what happened after those events. So firstly, I just want to define what a portfolio is. A portfolio is simply just a group of assets, and of course there are different asset classes. You have bonds, equities, real estate. And the objective of the portfolio manager is to choose assets that will increase in value to provide over the investment period, thereby increasing portfolio value. So how do you maximize a portfolio value? Essentially, you have to match a group of assets with a client's risk profile. And it is extremely important as you develop your portfolio to understand how much risk you're willing to take on. So you also have to look at your investment timeline and your return objectives, because those are the factors that will determine the types of assets that you will put in your portfolio, as well as the amount of each asset class that you will have in your portfolio. So there are some important steps when you're looking to create your portfolio. These are just some of the considerations, and I'll go through each fairly briefly. First, there's your risk appetite. Then your risk appetite will guide your asset allocation. You have to talk about the amount you're looking to invest. The rate of return that you're looking for will be guided by the amount of risk you're willing to take. Compounding growth simply speaks about the growth as a result of reinvesting proceeds from your investment. You look at your tax rate, and of course, you look at how long you're willing to invest for, which is your time horizon. So quickly, I'll just go through each briefly. Firstly, we look at your risk appetite, and risk appetite is a factor of risk appetite is your age. Persons can either be conservative, have a conservative risk appetite, moderate, or aggressive. So your risk appetite will determine the kind of returns that you will make on your portfolio. So somebody who is conservative shouldn't expect to have the same kind of returns as somebody who has an aggressive risk appetite. And so this will guide exactly which assets are allocated to the portfolio and what kind of returns you're going to expect from those assets. So your risk appetite then also guides your asset allocation. So as I said before, there are various asset classes. You have bonds, you have equity, you have real estate, and these asset classes, within each asset class, you'll have varying levels of risk. So when you're creating your asset allocation, you have to look at the limits and ranges based on your risk appetite. So for instance, somebody with an aggressive risk appetite or risk profile may want to take on more equity, because equity as an asset class is considered to be riskier than a bond. You'll also want to look at diversification, because diversification is one of the ways in which that we manage risk. It's a way to ensure that you can manage your risk across asset classes, across geographic locations. And for each asset, you have to look at what the market is expecting for that particular asset class or asset. And then that will determine, in terms of your allocation, what portion of your portfolio goes to which asset class. The next one is your amount invested. It stands to reason that larger starting amount usually will end up with a larger balance at the end. It's also important to understand that regular additions to your portfolio will also help in maximizing your portfolio value. And you want, when you're saving toward a particular goal or target, to have low or no withdrawals whatsoever on the portfolio. In terms of your rate of return and your risk are directly correlated, as I would have stated previously. If you are an aggressive, if you have an aggressive risk appetite, then your rate of return is going to be higher than if you are conservative. So the rate of return is really dependent, or the rate of return is constructed by looking at the possibility of getting repaid your investment amount. And so the greater the possibility that you're going to be repaid is the lower the rate of return. So in the case of equity, which is the lowest on the capital structure, you generally want to have a greater, or usually pays a greater rate of return, which is why over the long term, equities normally outperform all other asset classes. There are different types of risk, of course. You have geographic risk, you have market risk, and you try and diversify your risk by ensuring that you are in a diverse range of assets. As I said, the different types of risks include geographic, market, credit, liquidity risk. And these are all things that you have to take into consideration when you're designing your portfolio or creating a portfolio. When you have an advisor talking to you, a wealth advisor talking to you, these are some of the things that they would consider in terms of creating that portfolio for you. We talk about compounding growth. It simply means that the longer you have your funds invested and the more frequent you have cash flows coming from those investments, which you then reinvest, is the greater the value of your portfolio at the end. So it's important to know that some asset classes will give you regular cash flows. Bonds will have either quarterly or semi-annual interest payments. Some stocks may pay dividends on a quarterly or semi-annual or annual basis. And then it is important to decide, once you get those payments, are you going to reinvest them to grow your net worth, or are you going to take those monies and spend on other endeavors? The best thing to really do is take those funds and reinvest to ensure that at the end of the day, when you are looking 20, 30 years down the line, you have maximized the value of your portfolio. Another consideration, of course, is taxes paid. So taxes will vary not only by asset class, but also by geographic location. So in the instance of Jamaica, taxes withheld on a bond interest is 25%, whereas taxes withheld on dividends from equity is 15%. So there's a 10% tax differential there. You also want to look at tax differential or tax rates across geographic regions. So if you look, as I said, the case of Jamaica, we have taxes on dividends and interest. But if you look in Cayman, there are no taxes on dividends or interest in Cayman. So investing in Cayman is actually more tax efficient, right? In terms of time horizon, so this is one of the factors that we have to look at. As an investor, you have to ensure that when you're investing, you look at your investment time horizon. So if you're saving for 2 or 3 years down the line, or if you're saving for 20 or 30 years, the asset type that you will put in your portfolio will vary based on the time horizon. So the age of the investor will also determine what asset classes they will go into. Someone who is closer to the age of retirement may would have less exposure to equity, while someone who is much younger would definitely have a greater should have a greater exposure to equity. All right, but of course, all of that is really dependent on your unique circumstance. So I just want to touch on some of the things that has been happening lately in the global economy in relation to the COVID crisis. So global growth is predicted to decline by 3% for 2020, according to the IMF. If you look at the S&P 500, that's fallen off by over 13.5%. The US Treasury 10-year bond yield is trading at 0.64%, and that started January at 1.76% thereabouts. Gold, which is considered a safe haven asset, is actually up 12.62%. We're seeing Bitcoin down by a little under 2%. Oil is trading slightly below $20 a barrel. We all would have heard the news the other day where oil prices actually supposedly went to $0. That was the oil forward contracts. If you look at the WTI, oil is actually trading at about $19.70 thereabouts a barrel. which is down 67, almost 68% from the start of the year. And if you look at the MSCI Latin Caribbean Bond Index, that's down 43% this year, which means that bonds in this region, sovereign bonds from this region, have taken a beating because of all that's been going on with COVID. I know it all sounds like doom and gloom, but I'm going to show you the positive sides to all of this. All right. In terms of locally, Fitch has said that GDP for Jamaica should contract by about 4%. If you look at the IMF projections, IMF is predicting for the Latin America Caribbean region, they're looking at a contraction of about 5.7%. The JSC has declined, as we've all seen, over 20% so far this year. The Jamaica 6-month Treasury bill yield is at 1.05%. So putting your money in Treasury bills versus where inflation is going to give you a negative real rate, negative rate of return. And what we'd have seen as well is the Bank of Jamaica stepping in once this COVID situation hit the island. They stepped in to buy a lot of bonds from financial sector companies to provide liquidity to the market, right? So what I'm going to go through next is just looking at portfolio construction based on your risk profile. So for a conservative portfolio, and this is an investor who is one who doesn't want to take on a lot of risk. What we would suggest is they put about 40% of their funds in the VM Global Income Fund, which is a USD fund, and it's our most conservative fund. Then they'd put about 30% in the Classic Protector, which is a JMD bond fund. And then, of course, we do say that you should have some equity holdings, so you should put about 20% of your holdings in there. And then cash of 10%. And why cash of 10%? Is because we have seen so much dislocation in the markets recently that opportunities are abound, and it is important that we look and ensure that we have cash on hand to ensure that we can take advantage of those opportunities. I've also gone ahead and created a moderate risk profile portfolio. And in this one, we've simply said VM Global Income Plus, which is our moderate portfolio, to have about a 20% allocation for your classic income, which is our JMD portfolio, 30%. Again, we have some equity in there of 30%, and we have some property of 15%. And again, cash, as I said, because you do need that to take advantage of the opportunities that are present. And for our aggressive portfolio, what we've looked at here is VM Global Income portfolio of 15%, or classic income portfolio, 15% on the JMD side. Our equity portfolio, we've kept at 30%. But the major change here is that we've put in 15% for your VM Global Equity portfolio, which is, as the name suggests, our global equity portfolio, which invests in US stocks, right? And again, we keep 5% of our holdings in cash. So what we've seen so far is that COVID has affected most, if not all, industries and all asset classes. We've seen phenomenal declines in some asset classes, and they're trading at levels that we haven't seen in a long time. But central banks have reacted very favorably. Governments and central banks have reacted very favorably and have come in to ensure that the markets don't grind to a halt. And so they're pumping and have pumped a lot of liquidity into the markets thus far. The Bank of Jamaica, as I noted, they've come in and bought back assets from financial sector companies, and they have other measures in place to ensure that credit lines do not get frozen. If you look at their move recently with deposit-taking institutions, they've come to an agreement to ask them to ensure that there are no dividends paid this year, so they retained all of that funding. If we look at the U.S. example, the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is the U.S. Central Bank, has come in and they've been buying assets to the tune of over $2 trillion US so far. And they continue to express their support for the markets. But what I wanted to know in this page is just go through some of the tumultuous times that we've seen in markets and how markets have recovered. So if we go through, we'll see here, and hopefully, well, I wasn't around for some of these, but I've read up on them, and I've seen the studies. So if you look at it, the 1987 stock market crash, you have, of course, I was around for Hurricane Gilbert, the financial sector meltdown in the late 90s. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us remember that. In the US, you had the 2000s dot-com bubble where everything that went online, somebody decided, yeah, it was worth billions or trillions of dollars, when some of those companies were in fact, the business models weren't scalable. We had, of course, the most recent one in the US was the 2007 subprime mortgage, or the financial crisis in the US during that period, which led to a lot of easy money policies and a lot of what we've seen over the last decade, the growth in asset prices. And of course, locally, we had JDX and NDX. And during the JDX and NDX, Jamaican bond prices would have fallen precipitously and have since rebounded, given all of the good works that have happened by the various governments in conjunction with the IMF over the last several years. So what I want to say is that it is the nature of financial markets to have tumultuous times. There are going to be corrections, and corrections simply mean that there is a 10%, minimum of 10% move to the downside, right? And we have seen these events time and time again, and markets have rebounded and have done well. So there was a study out of JP Morgan that looked at some of the major financial crises in the US. And they noted that from the time of the correction to the time the markets rallied, it took about, on average, about 6 months for the market to have a correction for it to then rally. So it's important to have perspective in these times to ensure that we know that although things look bleak, governments and central banks have come in and acted very rapidly to ensure that the credit markets don't suffer, and to ensure that they provide some level of support to consumers as well. So in terms of just wrapping up, I just want to say that portfolio maximization is really dependent on the unique circumstance of the individual or investor. So that unique circumstance, of course, will encompass your risk profile, your investment objectives, your time horizon, and of course, your unique constraints. I will just leave you with one thing, and that's just to say that people are resilient and adaptable. And as such, even in these times, we need to ensure that while we are trying to stay safe, we are also looking for the opportunities that exist in the market. All right, thank you guys. Hopefully this is provided some clarity. Obviously, we can't get into all of the nitty-gritty of everything, but I will take your questions now.
Okay, thank you so much, Davey. A lot of good information there. We already have some questions, but just for the benefit of the persons watching, just a couple of things that, just picking up on a few things. I would have looked at the different profiles that you have, and it brings to mind something that a former boss said to me. You spoke about persons and looking at their risk appetite, and for people who aren't clear what risk appetite is, she put it in a way that was very, very clear to me. And she said that if you invest in something, this was cash plus days and all in days, so it was very, very strong in terms of the point there. But she made the point that if you are investing in something and you go to bed at night and you're not comfortable sleeping, then you've made the wrong decision. So it was very telling when you went through the different profiles, and it's important that people know what you can live with. Some people can't do the oh God, my stock falling. Oh my God, it moving from 12 to $2.50. Another thing I would have heard at different points is when you're looking at equities, go long. And I know a lot of people are really concerned now. So we thank you for sharing that information. And we're going to share a couple of questions that would have come in for you. Coach?
All right, so, well, Andrew Foster is asking, does VM manages retirement funds?
Yes, we do. So we have a VM pensions management, which manages pension funds, retirement funds. We have an approved retirement scheme for individuals. We manage pension funds for institutions as well. And as a matter of fact, I am actually the asset manager in charge of that as well.
All right, so I have questions of my own actually. So you mentioned that Cayman is tax efficient.
That's correct.
Do you guys have a branch in Cayman?
Currently, we don't, but we are looking at ways to expand our suite of products to see if we can offer stuff like that to our clientele here.
Okay, so also another question, because I'm very interested. You also said that the stock exchange, Jamaica Stock Exchange, went down 22%. What kind of assurance can you give to me? Because I know the stock market is very volatile, right? So what kind of assurance can you give to me so that I can invest in the stock market?
All right, what I would say to you, Kevoy, and Keisha, who just touched on it, is that before investing in the stock market, you need to sit with an investment advisor and understand your risk appetite. That's the first thing. Secondly, what we look to do is invest in companies through conducting very thorough research, companies that we believe will weather the storm and then thrive going forward. So if you look at our investment philosophy, it's always centered on ensuring that we have the greatest depth of research available to us. We're not just buying willy-nilly because a stock is low or the price or it's been on a tear. We look at the fundamentals to ensure that the companies that we're buying into are good long-term, solid businesses that we feel will thrive going forward.
Okay, no problem. All right, so a question now online. What would be your advice to someone who has 100% in JSE stocks or equity-based fund?
I'd have to go back to understanding that person's, ensuring that we sit with that person, understanding what they're saving towards and their risk appetite, because each person is going to be unique in terms of what they should be investing in for that particular person. I mean, it's odd to have all of your funds invested totally in equities. I would say they would need to have a conversation with their investment advisor to get a better understanding of the asset allocation mix that they should have based on their risk profile. But just on the face of it, that does seem to be a bit of an aberration there. You really shouldn't have all your funds in all your investments in equities.
All right, thank you. So now there's another question. How would you advise someone with a high risk appetite? They missed that part of the question apparently.
Pass that for me. Charger. Just leave it for me. So Kevoy, what I would say is that person with a high risk appetite we'd also have to look at their circumstances. Again, I come back to looking at their circumstances and ensuring that the reason that they're saving for is something that we need to highlight and ensure that even though you have a high or aggressive risk appetite, that the funds that you are saving in are appropriate. So you could have an aggressive risk appetite and have 60% equity or bond exposure. But it's important to ensure that the investment advisor sits down and understand your needs and understands what exactly are your goals, and ensure that as the portfolio is built, that the appropriate assets are chosen. So it will be unique for each individual.
So, Davey, I'm seeing another question. This is actually based on you're from VM Wealth, and so this is directly about VM Wealth. How much do I need to open a stock brokerage account of 100 stocks? I think pretty much the question would be how much to open an equity account.
All right, so the minimum to trade on the stock exchange is, well, they recently adjusted it. It used to be 100 units of a share. The honest truth is you can come in and buy 100 units of a share, depending on the share. We won't turn you away. Everybody has to start somewhere. It's important to start your journey, as your investment journey, as early as possible. So in my mind, the thing to do is, if you have a small $5,000-$10,000, come in, open an account. We will give you some advice, or you could simply invest in one of the equity unit trusts, because the truth is, investing in a stock, a one-off stock with a smaller amount, is not going to really be very efficient with you, and you are going to have all of your risk in one stock. Whereas if you invest in the unit trust, the equity unit trust, you will have a professional asset manager, one, and the two is that the risk will be diversified given the greater number of stocks that are bought by the fund. And three, the cost of investing through our equity unit trust for persons with low amounts is actually more cost efficient to do so. But again, as I said, we won't turn you away. But I believe for those smaller amounts, it's best to go into the unit trust, and the minimum for the unit trust is $10,000.
And that's 10,000 Jamaican dollars, Davey.
10,000 Jamaican dollars. That's correct.
So nobody has an excuse. Equity, we've heard this before, is not for the rich man. It is for everyone. Wealth is for everyone. So just Coach, picking up another question, what would be your advice for an entity acquiring another company that only needed a cash injection?
So we have a capital markets division here at VM Wealth, and so they can arrange financing, short-term, long-term financing for those kinds of activities. So all you have to do is come in and talk to us, and we can arrange some sort of financing. It really is going to be dependent on your needs and what you're looking to do. But again, we have a capital market solutions team in-house who can provide you with the requisite information about how best to get those funding to acquire another company.
All right, I'm seeing another question, just a little more clarity on diversified portfolio, building a diversified portfolio. So just quickly, if you could give us some answers on that, and we will take the other questions on offline. If you can just drop us a DM and ask us the question, we will actually provide you answers offline, because we want to make sure that everybody is able to get the benefit of the presentations for the evening.
Okay, all right, Keisha. So in terms of creating a diversified portfolio, there is going to be that diversification occurs when you're invested in different asset classes or across different geographic regions. At VM Wealth, we have products that does that on your behalf. So we have a property fund. You can invest in properties because buying a property outright is going to be for many of us challenging. If you're trying to buy an office building, you can invest in equities, as we previously discussed, or you can have some geographic diversification by investing in the Global Equity Fund, which invests in companies in the US. So diversification is key to ensuring that you minimize your risk. And so in the VMwell sense, we have a portfolio, or we have portfolios that can do that, and that already do that for our clients.
All right. So I would say that old adage that we hear from all our grandparents and some of us who are parents, don't put your eggs all in one basket. That is pretty much what diversification means. It means look at different options for your investments. So you're looking at investments in equities for those who have the appetite, some in bonds, some in real estate. You should always have cash in case of emergencies. Basically, look at different options so you can spread around the risk. So if the stock market goes down now, you have something that is fixed that can level you off. Am I right, Davy?
That's correct.
All right. So thank you very much, Davy. I believe that was very informative. For the persons who are asking about the saving of the live, it will be available, and we will also answer your questions offline. So we will just want to move to the next presentation as we move through the program for the night. So our next presenter is the dynamic Miss Alison Morgan. Now, she will be speaking on emergency fund, emergency savings, no more than ever. Now, Alison Morgan is a woman who wears many, many hats. And you'll understand what I mean by wearing many hats in a minute. She is a banker. She's a realtor. She's a change manager. She's a justice of the peace. She's an event planner. She actually has over 20 years of experience in finance at various levels. And so she's seen and can relate to persons at all levels in life. She currently runs one of the largest branches of Victoria Mutual, Halfway Tree. And she is qualified with a MBA in finance, a BBA in banking and finance. And so she is fully equipped to speak to you today. She's a perfect example of determination and doing it all. She's a mom, a businesswoman, and a realtor. Now, as if running one of the biggest branches was not enough, she's also a realtor, and she does that business alongside her regular banking job. She speaks from the heart and from experience, and no doubt today you'll walk away with sound information that will make an impact on your life and will help you in making those next big moves. Alison?
Hi, Keisha. Good evening, everyone. All right, just working through some technical difficulties. All right, I think we're good to go. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Keisha, for that wonderful introduction. Boy, I think you set me up, and I really hope now I can live up to the expectations. But really and truly, I am speaking from the heart. I love what I do. I'm very, very passionate about helping persons to achieve their full potential. So I always relish the opportunity to speak to persons through forums such as these. Of course, I prefer one-on-one, but you know, we have to adapt with the times. So today I'm going to speak to you about the importance of emergency savings now more than ever. I'm hoping you can see my screen, and we're going to get to it. So there's a favorite quote I have by Winston Churchill: never let a good crisis go to waste. And it sounds a little off, like crisis and good, they don't go together, you know, but they actually do go together. What we're trying to get you to focus on in that, in every situation, there's always hope, there's always a silver lining, and this too shall pass. So until such time as the world stops spinning, we're going to continue to plan and prepare and act as if it is going to continue spinning, because it will. That's the truth. So this pandemic has changed our lives irrevocably, for better or for worse, but we are going to change adversity, read COVID-19, to advantage, a better you, a more solid you, a more focused you, someone who would have spent this time to do some introspection and reflection and make some lasting changes. So we're gonna make some moves tonight. And these are not just coach moves on the field. I'm talking the financial moves, all right? So one thing that this situation has managed to drive home for a lot of folks is the need to have some sort of financial stability or cushioning, you know, a kind of safety net of sorts. It has left some of us feeling a little exposed, I dare say a bit naked financially. And the truth is, it's very shocking because the bulk of it is that we're spending so much extra, which does not include any healthcare related costs to the illness of COVID-19 itself. Many persons equate financial security and financial freedom with being self-employed. For others, it's to have many income streams. And for another set, it is to be so highly skilled and valued that you secure your job or your career. Guess what? It's none of these things. The truth is, financial independence and financial security comes from having financial literacy, by having proper planning supported by robust execution of actions. Your power is not in what you earn, it is in what you save. Let me repeat. Your power is not in what you earn, it is in what you save. So that entire statement, I want you to just let it ruminate. Financial independence comes from having financial literacy. So you see, the mere fact that you took time out of your day to join a presentation like this, give yourself a pat on the back. This right here is a step in the right direction. This is getting yourself educated and for you to build your library of financial literacy. The next part of it is what is even more important, execution. We have some challenges sometimes with getting things done. We meet and we plan and we talk and we do stuff, but then the commitment to follow through with the game plan, the play, is not executed properly, as coach would tell you. So we need to focus on the goal and we need to get the ball in the net and score that goal. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how we can get you there. Quick 8 tips. They say there will never be an ideal time to start saving except right here and right now. They have a saying, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. Guess when is the second best time? Right now. If there ever was a time in our lives when the importance of having emergency savings has proven vital, that time is the year 2020. What a year this will be. We're going to sit on the couch in a few years on our veranda and we'll be talking about this year to come for many, many, many years in the future. It's a defining year, but let's use it as a good year. This is the year that forced us to make changes and to do the right things. This is a year that made us develop a making moves mentality. So congratulations if you already have an established savings fund. Please ensure you use it wisely. Try not to make impulsive decisions that deplete it faster than what is reasonable. Our current situation does not have an expiry date. We would have seen on the news a lot of persons asking for dates when this industry is going to be reopened and they want that economy reopened. I think personally that will be determined by how well we adhere and also to just facts and when we can get this thing under control. So that 6-month emergency fund that you were always recommended to save might actually have to stretch to a 12-month emergency fund. So we want to ensure that you use it wisely. Some industries might take a little longer to recover than some might not be feeling the hit, some might be having a boom. It depends on where you are and your own personal situation. So you have to work that one out. So I don't want you to be paralyzed thinking that, you have time. I'll start this next week. I'll start this September. I'll start this when COVID finished. No, that kind of thinking kind of puts us in an immobile state because we think we always have time. There's always tomorrow. There's always next Monday. There's always next week. We need to start making the move now. The willingness to save is what we're going to call our mindset, our making moves mentality. So fix your mindset. To paraphrase Nike, just do it. It starts with a very quick and simple step. Easy, easy, easy. Making a budget. Assess your income, track your spending. It's as simple as that. Know where your money comes from and where it goes. If you like to use technology, that's cool. Open Excel, click on spreadsheet, click on worksheets rather, and then type in budget, and you have a whole slew of things come up that you can use, whatever you prefer. Pink, fancy, dragons, plain, your choice. Just get the budget. If you prefer to use an app so you can track the spending as you go through the day, then go in the Play Store or whatever you use, Apple Store, and just search for it, read the reviews, get one that's safe and secure. Or my personal favorite, pen, paper. Never fail. I'm old school. Whatever it is, just track it. Assess your income, track your spending, make a budget. Very, very simple. My second tip is categorizing the things on your budget. So I personally like to use 3 quick categories, and you'll see them there on your screen. Needs or must-dos, vitals, and wants. So the needs are things like your mortgage, your rent, your motor vehicle payment, your student loans, don't forget those. Vitals, groceries, utilities, gasoline for your car, so you can be mobile, etc. And then the wants are things like gadgets, latest versions, fancy watches, things like those. They're gadgets. Personal grooming, entertainment, and it's important to put personal grooming in here because some persons don't understand exactly how much they spend on things like, taking care of their physical stuff that they have to pay someone else to do. And these are things that you can save money on by trying to do yourself. So after you've identified all these areas, here is a clincher. Find areas in all 3 categories listed above that you can actually shave funds from so you can start your emergency savings right in the middle of the pandemic. Yes, I said start your emergency savings in the middle of the pandemic. How is that possible, Alison? Oh, you can talk because you work at VM. Actually, no. You can also relate because, for example, if you have a car loan, a lot of places now are offering refinancing. They're offering lower interest rate if you've paid your loans well. Why not explore that option? Are you getting the best interest rate on it? Can you trade up? There are so many offers out there now. Look at that. Perhaps moving from a 9% interest rate on your motor vehicle to a 7% can save you $8,000 per month. Explore these options. Another way that you can look to save is on your utility bills, like your cable and your internet. Do you really need the premium package? Like, honestly, ask yourself, do you really need a premium package? You're never home. You don't need to watch 89 channels. How many of you watch since you've been working from home? Because you are working from home, correct? Not watching telly. So look if I can cut down on some of that. For groceries, a lot of us, we were forced to buy in bulk over the last 2 months, probably driven by fear, but whatever reason caused you to stockpile the food and the tissue, you've now recognized that buying in bulk can actually save you funds. So could this be a trait that you keep going forward after COVID? Learn to buy things in bulk so you can save, so you can plan better. When you get the discounts from these things, you're going to just filter those off straight to your emergency funds, all right? You're also saving money on things like gasoline. You're no longer traveling to work. You're not sitting in the traffic. You're not using the AC. If you used to pay toll, you can now save that if you didn't have prepaid toll. The lunches. Let's not talk about the lunches. The $1,000 a day lunch that you buy with the Jews. So right away, that's $5,000 a week. Look at that, $20,000 a month just for lunch. That could be your entire grocery bill if you were to cook and take food to work. So let's find things that we can do. And then let's not forget the liming on the Friday night because work was so stressful. We're tired. We have to go get a drink. No, you don't. You're not doing it now when you're surviving. So let's look at how we can save money with those things. I just want you to be really, really honest with yourself. Have an honest conversation. Do it in private because you might cry, you might bawl, you might curse yourself. So do it in private first, and then after you might have to do it with your spouse. Just saying. So be honest, figure out where your money go. Look at the things that you just couldn't possibly do without 2 months ago, and here you are surviving. I dare say thriving without them, and you're quite fine. When last have you gone out for a lime? Because you can't go, So you're not buying around one and your friend buy another one, and then you buy 2 more, and oops, you just spend 10,000 one night for 3 hours at a liming spot. So I'm not saying you can't go out, but let's manage it. All right, that's all I want to say. So what we want you to divert from these categories is at least 10% of your gross income. So if you earn 100,000 per month, that's $10,000. If you earn 250,000, it's 25,000, and so on and so forth. If your earnings fluctuate, because a lot of persons don't have a set income, they're employed, they work on contract, it's based on commission, etc., etc. Do an average of the last 12 months income, and then decide to save that amount monthly. All right. So quick recap: identify a budget, figure out where your money comes from and where it goes, and then look at where you can shave off things from it. So my third tip: go in automatic mode. Arrange for the savings to be filtered automatically. If you're employed in a formal job that allows you to do that, take advantage of it. Take it out before you even see it. I know say art not lead. True. Just get it out of the way, filter to something. If you can't do it that way, perhaps you can look to set up a standing order. Just find a way to move it as quick as possible. It's absolutely critical that you put the funds where you do not have access to it. This slower period to do things like signing up for online banking. If you didn't have the opportunity before to sit down, because I know, I'm not going to tell you that I don't know. Before, it was hard to carve out 10 minutes for yourself. It was really, really hard. You're rushing between meetings, you're trying to meet clients, you're stuck in traffic, you have the children, you're trying to remain, have some semblance of sanity, so you work out. So I'm not telling you it's easy. Use this downtime to do a little bit more focusing on yourself. Sign up for the online banking. Look at the options that you have to manage your money. A lot of them are free. If you sign up for internet banking, you save time. You don't have to go and stand in the lines, put on a mask, and wait your turn to be called. Use the services that are available for you. Also explore how you can save for the future. So earlier someone asked about pension. It is very, very important that you also not just look at your current situation now, but you look at yourself in the future. I have seen, as a branch manager on the floor, and this is really coming from my heart, I have seen a lot of senior citizens come out to collect pension. And it absolutely breaks my heart because they're waiting on some money that is not yet here, and they have nothing left. And the amount of money that they're waiting on is probably 4,000 or 5,000 per fortnight. And of that amount, they're going to spend half of it on medication, because whether we like it or not, and it don't matter how you're hot now and cute, the body is not meant to last, and you will have deteriorating health conditions as you age. So I really want us to focus on not just the future self now, but the future self 20 and 30 years in the future. So if you've never thought about pensions, please think about it now. Max it out. Put as much as you can. I know a lot of private pension funds, it's about 14.5% that you can put in. It varies. Dave is the expert there. He can, provide more information. I just need to tell you to do it, and he will tell you how much to do. All right. So we have a little tag team going right here. So go in automatic mode, move it before you even touch it, budget expand to fit the amount allotted. So if you take it out from beginning, look how the grocery budget shrink and the going out shrink and everything else shrink, because you just don't have it there. All right. My fourth tip is apply some stick-to-itiveness. Yes, it's a word. No, I will not say it again. Okay, it's on the screen, that word. Stick with it. Consistency. Results come from consistency. Stick to your savings plan even after COVID has passed. Why is that important? Financial willpower is something that takes time to develop. Like any other habit, it's kind of like going to the gym, trying to work out. It's really hard to start, but once you do, when you start, get a little compliment and somebody said, "Hey girl, you're looking nice. Sorry, are those musticles coming?" And you feel good. And you used to walk, so when them said you walk, so yeah, it's kind of like that when you start to build up your savings. The feeling is almost euphoric when you see month over month, week over week, and you look at the balance and you see it growing. And then 1 year time, you're like, how did I do this? How did I reach at this figure? Because you really don't know, because it's small steps that get you there. So we want you to focus on the savings plan even after the pandemic. Plan ahead for the fun times as well, because as I said, the world is going to continue to spin, So Christmas is going to keep, Black Friday is still going to keep, New Year's is still going to keep, birthdays and Valentine's and all of those things they're still keeping in the future. So we're not saying cut them out totally. What we're saying is focus on them, know that these activities are going to come and we want you to be better prepared for them. So don't start saving now, and then come November when we're kind of back to normal-ish and a little bit of, regularity comes back, and then you say with the guys, okay, we're going to go because we're so stressed and we're suffering, and you go to one all-inclusive party, and then you go to two all-inclusive party, and then you go to the third one, and you right, and then guess what? It's 15,000 a pop for those tickets. So going out 3 times would have probably cost you about 100,000 between the tickets and the outfit and the hair. Okay, so we just want you to focus a bit. So it's like how them say tan in your yard, and you found fun in tanning in your yard and playing little games. Celebrate in your yard too. So balance it. Go out sometime and then save sometime. So if you have the savings and it's secure, then by all means go ahead. But remember, balance is key, and stick-to-itiveness. Oh, Jesus, I said the word again. Stick-to-itiveness. We're going to stick to the game plan, like Coach said, and we're going to make sure that we're not derailed afterwards. All right. My 5th point is make it a habit to plan for the known and the unknown. So in point 4, I said to you that we know Christmas is keeping, right? And we know that birthday coming up and Black Friday and all the wonderful things coming and Cyber Monday and all those things. Include in your budget things that are irregular but necessary. So items such as tuition for yourself and your child, it's by semester. The house insurance once a year, the car registration, the car fitness, the insurance. Ensure that you factor these things into your budget. So at step 1, we said to you, create a budget. Some persons instinctively think when you're creating a budget, you put in light and water and grocery and gas, and they forget the things that come about once every 3 months or every 6 months. Don't. Because if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. When you don't include these irregular items, then you are caught off guard and you're unprepared. And you know what happens? When you're unprepared, the first thing you think to do is to cut your savings because you think savings is optional. So I want you to treat your budget like an all-inclusive hotel. Yeah, throw everything in there. Don't forget it. Sit down and write down every single thing that you have to do and throw it in there so you're not forgetting. Something as simple as buying a cylinder of gas on a Sunday, right? Because it always finishes on a Sunday. It's probably 13,000 or 12,000 for a 100-pound cylinder if you buy that one. 3,000 for the smaller one. And I want to use a practical example so people can understand. If you don't plan for that, whether it's 6 months, 8 months, or 3 months, however long it lasts you, as it finishes, you're going to take money from your savings because you can't cut the mortgage, you can't cut the car payment, right? As opposed to if you were trying to put away $1,000 per month towards this expense that you know is going to come. So we just want you to ensure that your budget is realistic and all-inclusive. So your budget is now your all-inclusive hotel. All right. The 6th tip that I have for you is to reflect and stay informed. Earlier, I stated that what gets you to financial independence and what affords you some sense of security is financial literacy. Practice developing the habit of seeking out knowledge from experts, trusted sources to make better decisions. Subscribe to e-magazines, free financial newsletters, go on registered financial institutions. Remember that example that Keisha gave earlier? Not those. registered financial institutions and read up on their tips. A lot of them, including Victoria Mutual Group, has resource centers for tips, for best practices, and it is absolutely free. Why aren't we taking advantage of this? Get yourself financially literate so you can make better decisions. Understand how to just manage your money properly. Seek out the knowledge, as I said, and just explore, explore, explore. Use this time to educate yourself on your goals, what it is that you wanted to achieve. You wrote down some stuff in December because most persons have the resolutions. It's May. How are you doing with those? When last you look at them? Or is only every December we write them and we look back again next December? Dust off the paper, pick up the notes, whatever you had it with, let's look back at it. You know, it's so funny. Keisha said I'm a realtor and I get a lot of hilarious stories. You wouldn't believe the amount of people calling me to tell me that, Alison, I need to find a place to live because I absolutely cannot stay one more day in this situation. So whatever quarantine has you thinking about your current living arrangements, whether you need to change it or not, persons want their home to be their sanctuary. If you need to upgrade the house, if the children driving you crazy, we've all seen the Zoom stories where everybody in this little space and lots of things in the background. Use this time to find out, you know, what is the mortgage process? How can I get a mortgage? Can I get an upgrade? Is it a good time to sell my house and get a bigger one? Should I move out from my parents now? How will my credit score be affected? What's a credit score? You know, how much do I need to save for opening and closing costs? Can I save for emergency savings? Because that's what you're telling me about, Alison, but here you're telling me about house. Can I do both at once? How long will it take? We're here for you. You have a slew of persons in the Victoria Mutual Group, experts in all areas, and they can help you to sit down and look at your current situation and just work it through to make sure, you know, it's best for you. And let's get a timeline going. So use the period to educate yourself, get information. If you have challenges, admit them, and just let's figure out the best way to get going. My 7th tip is your health is your wealth. And this is really, really important. Oh, sorry, I went up a little bit. Sorry, 7th tip is seek out sources of rebates, loyalty rewards, and cashback programs. Why is this important? If we're here talking to you about emergency savings, you can actually get savings from other avenues that will in turn help you to boost up your emergency savings. So for example, cashback programs, things like that. Think about it. If you are assisting with taking care of elderly parents, you know, someone with a chronic illness, etc., have you considered signing up for things like the National Health Fund? It's really, really good. It covers a wide range of illnesses, diabetes, etc. Just look at where you can save $1. Anywhere, figure it out. Capitalize on reward programs and discounts. Earlier we said buy in bulk if you can. That's a way to save as well. Just find avenues to save some money. Have a good payment history. Something as simple as paying your bills, all your utility bills on time can save you collectively $1,000 per month. Now, if it's $10,000 Jamaican to start an equity fund, if you were paying your bills well all of last year, you would have already saved up enough money to start an equity fund. It's as simple as that. Look at it another way. $1,000 is not a lot of money unless it's $1,000 credit you're buying. How much are we buying $1,000 credit? Because it's there for whole heap of money, right? So it's perspective. So that's what we're saying. Pay the bills on time, save some money right there. So you're cutting it down. So you can actually redirect that towards your saving. And also another benefit of doing something like that now is that your future self will thank you because utility bills are reported to the credit bureaus, right? So a good payment history, a good credit actually helps you negotiate interest rates in the future for loans. So as opposed to paying a loan for your motor vehicle or your house at a higher rate, you can actually get it at a lower rate, again, saving you money. Just find all the avenues that you can get some savings from and redirect them to your pensions, to your savings, and indeed your pension fund. My final tip is your health is your wealth. I'm so excited about that one that I just kind of jumped to it. So forgive me. I'm really, really big, and I think it's good for us to focus on health. Recently, our government has started to focus on that as well, and indeed governments right across the world, because the truth is, healthcare is one of the most expensive undertakings that you will ever find yourself having to deal with. Eat right, exercise, get enough rest, you know, do your best to take care of yourself, your loved ones, take care of your mental space. If you're not healthy, you can't make good decisions. Even if you're employed, healthcare, even with a health card, is still expensive. So we want you to focus on making good financial decisions, great ones after you become financially literate. And when you're in the mental space and the physical capacity, do so. Take care of you. You make better decisions when you're healthy. So focus on your health. It would have all been for naught if we saved for a year or two and you neglect your health, and then one visit to the doctor cost you $350,000 because this is not covered. So ensure that we do that now, especially in this time more than ever. My final point for you is this. Okay. History has shown us that when times are good, we tend to forget past struggles and hardships. We get comfortable and we revert to choices, you know, that hurt us rather than help us, because we're Homo sapiens. That's what we're supposed to do. We don't like changes. We like the known. We like comfort, and we don't like to step out of our comfort zone. But nothing good goes from comfort zones. So promise yourself that this time you're going to heed the advice. You're going to make moves in the right direction. You will not go on this cycle that causes you to harbor resentment and doubt and disappointment later in the future because you didn't stick to it this time. Don't want you to become overwhelmed or feel inert as if you can do nothing to change your situation. You can, and you can do it right now. So ensure that this time you're going to put your actions, you're going to put your all, you're going to listen and apply what you've heard tonight and what you're going to hear, because the presentation isn't finished, and you're going to start to make some moves in the right direction simply because you deserve it and your future self deserve it. I thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alison. That was very engaging. It was really, really interesting. I can tell you that I was listening from start to finish. But we have some questions, of course. So the first question is, how do you guys deal with someone that has a bad debt in the past and recovering? Did you hear me, Alison? You hearing me? Yeah, how do you guys deal with someone that has bad debt in the past and is recovering?
All right, hearing me, Coach? One moment. Right, so bad debt is not a life sentence. Life happens. Victoria Mutual understands that. What we're encouraged is the truth. No one is perfect. What we encourage persons to do is to sit and have a discussion with us. What was the cause of the bad debt? Now, having bad debt that you couldn't avoid and having bad debt that you totally ignored is two different things. And even if you ignored it, you can still make amends now. Contact the institution, work out a payment plan, show an effort, you know, make a move in the right direction to show that you're willing to settle off the debt. So the credit bureaus go back as far as 7 years, and perhaps they might even go further than that. So if you have some bad debt, find out about it, contact the institution, work out a plan, let's get your credit improved. Tell us, you know, sometimes things happen like loss of income, redundancy, health, a lot of persons are looking after their parents, situations like that. Their spouse might have suffered a major illness. You know, there's this big C that I don't like to speak about. One bout of chemotherapy, for example, can totally wipe out everything. And then you really have to make a choice between taking care of your health, as I spoke about earlier, and settling bills. And then, you know, that's an easy choice to make. So bad debt is not the end of the line. You can still access credit with it, but it requires a conversation and early disclosure. So even if you're not planning, for example, to buy a property now, have the discussion now so we can guide you. So when you're ready, you would have had 12 months to make decisions and steps in the right direction that now says to us, hey, I'm a good candidate to lend to, and we can assist you. There are many, many options that we can work out for you.
All right, thank you. So another question is, what do you do when COVID has already cut your emergency fund in half because your pay has been cut? You can hear me? Repeat? You need me to repeat? All right, so what do you do when COVID has already cut your emergency fund in half because your pay has been cut? Unmute. You're still not hearing me? You're hearing me? I can't hear you. You're mute. Read the question again. All right. Ready? All right. So what do you do when COVID has already cut your emergency fund in half because your pay has been cut?
Okay, so firstly, congratulations on actually being, you know, contributing to an emergency fund before. What you can do is examine your current living arrangements, like I spoke about earlier. Examine your current spending habits and practices and see if there's any way that you can first make adjustments to those areas as opposed to cutting your emergency fund. If it is that you are not able to make any other lifestyle adjustments, you can't cut down anything, then have a plan to say you're going to cut the emergency fund for a particular period, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. And as soon as you get some semblance of normalcy, the salary goes back, etc., then you make sure that you resume with the amount that you were doing. But my first advice is always examine where else you can shave off some funds from and not go straight to your savings, which we know is always the easy go-to.
Okay, all right, good. So there's another one again. How can we do online banking? Do you guys have an app for that?
Yes, we do. And it's a beautiful app. So you can go to our website, vmbs.com, and you'll see an icon that says click here to register for online banking. Really seamless process, and you can get signed up. If you have any challenges, then you can speak to one of our reps live online on the website, or you can send us an email, you can call us, whatever your preference is, and we can work it through. It's a good thing to have an app also because it helps you to track your money and to manage it quickly. So I encourage everyone to sign up for the VM app. You're going to be really amazed. It's one of the better ones out there. I'm just saying.
So a couple things outside of the questions that Coach would have mentioned that I wanted to pick up and just bring back to based on what Ali was saying, and also a comment I saw earlier. Now, we just want to encourage you that there's always hope. Whether you started or not, now is a good time. As Ali said, the second best time to planting a tree is right now. But I wanted to just bring back one of the points that came off of one of our viewers, Allison, when they spoke about the benefits of tax, the tax benefit that comes with contributing to a pension. So just touch that a little bit for me, please. Okay.
Thank you, Keisha. So yes, indeed, there is a massive tax benefit that comes from, utilizing the pension arrangements that you have. So the government of Jamaica allows you to contribute, in most cases, up to 14.5% of your pre-tax income. So if you earn $100 per month, let's just break it down. You pay 33.33% of that as tax. Yes, 33.33% between PAYE, income tax, education tax, all that good stuff. And then the rest is left for you. Now, if you contribute to a pension fund, you take out 14.5% of the $100 before the government taxes the remainder. If you contribute the maximum, for example, let's say you're earning $250,000 per month. If you contributed the maximum amount to your pension fund, you would see it increase by about, your pension amount would increase to probably about $45,000 per month. Yet your take home would go down by only $10,000 per month. Why? Because your funds are now being redirected from going to income tax to the government, and it's now going to your retirement savings. So it's an absolute best practice that I would encourage everyone to start as soon as possible.
All right, thanks, Alison. What options do you have for youths seeking to get a first house or car or whatever it is? Big investment, I suppose. Oh, you're not hearing me? You can't hear me? Hold on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Just check it.
Go ahead, Coach.
So they said, what options do you have for youth seeking to get a first house or a first car?
Okay, so there's not an answer that can fit everyone's situation, because of course we'd have to speak to you and do a personal assessment. But we do have options. For example, for the home, we have a particular product that you can save in for a year and you get benefits such as a higher percentage amount for financing. So as opposed to lending you probably say 90% of the purchase price, we lend you up to 97%. So we have lots of different plans available, but it will all come down to your personalized individual situation. There's not a band-aid methodology that helps you with financial planning. So when that person would have done their budget and we assess their income and we look at the timelines that we're working on, then we can say, okay, this set of options right here work for you, or no, Sweet 2 will work for you. But from a product perspective, we have a wide variety. We have something to fit every income, every package, every stage. So university, pre-university, just started working, just married, on retirement, we have it all.
All right. So I'm gonna check if you can hear me before I speak. Can you hear me? All right. So what is the process of getting a car loan? That's what someone is asking.
So the process to get a car loan is first to reach out to us, tell us that you'd like to do an assessment to establish your affordability. You can speak to us over the telephone, via email. We can do an assessment without even seeing you. Heck, I've even written mortgages and I didn't see the person until they got the keys. So it's all possible. So we'll need some basic information. If you're employed formally, you're salaried, then we'd need your job letter. We need your last 3 months pay slips. We're going to have to pull down your credit report. We can help you to actually source the vehicles. We have some excellent arrangements now with a couple companies. One of them is ATL and the Lucky 21. You don't make any payments on your brand new vehicle until next year, 2021, you make payments. So we can do an assessment by various means, and then we can guide you based on what we determine coming out of your personal financial assessment.
All right, here's a big one. You ready? How would you effect this pension plan with the company you work? Would it need to be a group pension plan? And how would it work so I can get that tax benefit?
Okay, so I'm going to ask David to take this one as the resident pension expert. Davey?
Sure. So it depends. If you are working at a company and they do not have a plan in place, you can invest in an approved retirement scheme, such as we offer here at VM Pensions. We can get somebody to get in touch with you so you can go through the process of signing up. So as long as you're not invested in another approved pension scheme, you are able to do so on an individual basis through an individual retirement account. And again, if you need someone to speak to, you can simply get in touch with us or drop us your contact details and we'll have somebody get in touch with you to go through all the details of signing up for that.
Thanks, Davey. Thanks, Davey. So someone else is asking again. These are a lot of questions. Everybody bright. All right. So I live in the US. How can I buy a house from here, which is the US, that is?
Okay, that's fine. Again, we can assist you with the companies that we have in the Victoria Mutual Group. We have someone that can assist you with this process from start to finish. So again, the first thing is for you to make contact with us, and then we'll do an assessment. We'll need to get information on you from the credit side in America. So whichever country you're on, credit is important. So we get your employment information, we look at your assets liability, we determine affordability, and then based on that, we will now appoint you to a realtor with Victoria Mutual Property Services. And based on your wishes, you know, if you want to live in town, you want country, you want apartment, you want townhouse, you want a land, you want to build, then expert realtor, we have several over there with Victoria Mutual Property Services, can assist you in looking for the property. We can show you the property virtually, so you don't have to worry about what you're getting. You'll see all the finer details of the property, and then you will start the process by making an offer on said property through the realtor. Once that part has been accepted, then you move over to the Victoria Mutual Building Society, and we will underwrite the loan for you. So it all starts with you sending us your information so we can have that one-on-one and do your personal assessment.
All right, cool.
So, Coach,
okay.
We are at the end of our time for Allison's questions, reminding everybody that we will answer your questions offline. We've taken note of them. Please ensure that you give us the details we need to be able to respond to you. Now, Allison would have just to run over a couple of things that connected with me, Alison spoke about really sitting down and have a conversation with yourself. And, I thought to myself as she was talking, you sit down by yourself and have this conversation and say, self, what you're really up to. So it's really a serious thing to sit back. I can speak of my own experiences when she spoke about the things that you're sure you need. I am into crafting and design and so on. And so I very often, I used to, I stopped it. But there was a time when I would convince myself that I needed a particular thing. And each time I have that impulse right now, I remember an incident with a $600 laser printer where I was so sure that I needed this printer to do the projects that I had doing. And it was a time when I was busy in the making things and designing things. And if I must be completely honest to everybody, I don't think I used it 5 times. So there went my $600 US. So that was a valuable lesson for me. And I know I see Dr. Dunbar laughing after me like crazy. But anyway, at least I'm converted, right? But I just say it because I know that some corns are being touched up in here. And I can speak to it. And I'm saying, guys, really, she's giving us some good advice. Sit back. This is some time I found myself with free time in some instances. Sometimes it's crazy to sit back and really take a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it and make some new decisions for how you move forward. Allison spoke about looking at your meals, looking at how you're saving money, looking at the needs versus wants versus vitals. And so we have put together a special presentation through a collaboration with Grace Kitchens to have Chef Shea Stewart Most of you would have seen him on IG or different channels, put together some cost-saving meals that you can look at. And guess what? We have even a bigger surprise for you, because along with these meals that we're demoing with Chef Shea today, we have other recipes that we can share with you from Chef Shea. Just fill out the necessary information. We'll share with you the data, the information around how to give us your information to send this to you, and we can share those recipes. So we're not just talking about the principle, we're showing you how to do it. Now, over to Chef Shea.
Hey everyone, Chef Shea here from Grace Kitchens, and we're partnering with VMBS to show you some quick, exciting, cost-effective meals that you can stay home and do with your family. This one is fun, it's for the family. Get your kids, the whole family, come together. We're going to use our Grace Vienna sausages, some mayonnaise, cheddar cheese, and we're going to make quesadillas. So there you have it, guys, our Vienna sausage quesadillas. As I said, you can get the kids together. It's an assembly type dish. It's very inexpensive. It's very tasty. You know, it's just what we need right now. So I hope you all enjoy. Here's another one for the family. Our Grace sweet and spicy tuna burgers. So a very, very high heat in our grill pan. You know, you want to get that grill mark, and you want everything to have, again, texture. Nice and flaky with the tuna inside and a nice sear on the outside. So quick tip, making the tuna patty, you want to ensure to drain as much liquid as possible. I mean, if you can drain all the liquid, egg and breadcrumbs and mayonnaise is the binder. You want to make sure that it is dry, not too wetty, not too dry, but when you're molding it, it's not sticking to your hand, but when you're putting it and molding it, it's keeping firm together so that you can have a nice, firm, textured patty like this. All right, so we're gonna assemble now. All right, so this is our final product. This is our sweet and spicy tuna burgers. Again, we use the sweet and spicy sauce by Grace, and it's just nice. I mean, definitely a family meal. Definitely a meal that the kids can join in on. And I think the plate can hold everything, yes. So here you have it. Sweet and spicy tuna burger. I mean, you can't beat it.
So I hope you guys had an amazing time watching that. I hope you got the tips. Chef Shea is fantastic. I tried some of his food and I love it. It's really easy to do. We are partnering with Grace, and so most of the products are made with Grace. But they're simple meals, easy to put together. We actually asked him to collate a number of other recipes for you, and so you can have those to your leisure. And this is where my granny would say, run, go tell your friend. But for those persons who are on the live this evening, you have an opportunity of winning a dinner for 4 catered by Chef Shea. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're making sure that when you're making those big moves and saving your money, you are able to get practical tools to work with. And we also want to give you a little sweet up. So Chef Shea will be making you a fantastic meal. So look out for that. Log in, send us the information we need to get, and we will be selecting a winner that will be announced on Wednesday. Now, we have our final amazing presenter for the evening for you, and that is Reverend Dr. Carla Dunbar. Now, this lady, when I give her profile, I have to take a breath, because I spoke about Alison earlier and the fact that she wears so many hats. Well, let me tell you about this lady. She holds a BA in theology, a MA in counseling psychology, a PhD in marriage and family therapy. She's a licensed sex therapist. She's a certified professional life coach and media consultant. She is a minister of religion. She's the director of Carla Dunbar Ministries and Counseling Care with offices in Kingston, Mandeville, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, and she extends her reach to the diaspora via social media. She's the author of 3 books, The Journey, Sexscription, The Prescription for Sex, and her 52-week couples devotional. Her passion for marriage and family continues to propel her to fulfilling the mantra of rebuilding Jamaica, one marriage at a time. She's a Christian woman, loves the Lord passionately, humbly enjoys helping people resolve their life issues, and her philosophy is that anyone can create an impression, but not anyone can create an impact. So she seeks to always impact by empowering. She's a justice of the peace. She's gained national acclaim through addressing audiences in the public and private sector in Jamaica. Her work has gained her international recognition when she represented the Caribbean during the 2016 American Legislative Week to speak at the White House and U.S. Department of State in Washington. And she was also the keynote speaker at the 3rd annual U.S. Faith-Based Summit at Howard University. She was conferred an honorary doctorate in philosophy in the Humane Letters and awarded Fellow of the Most Excellent Order of International Experts in the field of marriage and family counseling at the 2017 graduation of CICA International University and Seminary. Now, it didn't stop there. In 2018, she received a prestigious award for ecumenical leadership, civic engagement, and marriage and the family unification in the Caribbean, UK, and US during the 48th staging of the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C., where she addressed the caucus on sexual repression and the church's response. I tell you something, this lady is somebody you want to listen to. Dr. Dunbar is a Kingstonian by birth. She immigrated to Portland at age 11, and she's happily married to Mr. Canute Dunbar, her teenage love. And let me tell you, she dropped some things on me a couple of days ago that I to say, boy, I forgot to counsel me one away. No, he is her teenage love, and the union has produced 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. The couple now celebrates 43 years together and they have 10 beautiful grandchildren. Now, I tell you all of this because you have to understand where this lady is coming from and the experience she has. Now, we know that COVID is hard on people emotionally, financially, in some cases physically, because some people are ailing and they can't move around as they would like to. We know people are having a hard time with the space they're in, whether it's with a relationship or a family, the physical space. And she is today going to talk to us about how you navigate this new normal. We don't know when it's going to change, but one thing we know is this: we're going to make the best of it, right? Everybody with me? We are going to make the best of it. We're going to turn this particular adversity into advantage. And Dr. Carla Dunbar is going to tell us about how to do that. Unmute.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It was so good listening again to Alison and David. Trust me, the tips are great. Not to mention, no, the quiz today, I saw it name that I'm going to have to go learn from it now, because you know the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right, Davey? So I forgot to try something else with Mr. Dunbar again to tantalize his palate. So it's good to be here with you all and to be able to share with you how to navigate the new normal. And I'm lauding, of course, Keisha and the team for this. It is very necessary at this time. Now, I'm cognizant that if home is good, then work is likely and everything else is supposed to be more efficient. And so it is good that we're having this. Now, whether you're a couple who is working from home, if both of you are one of you working from home, I do that sometimes, or a whole family and children who need to be entertained, or a single person, right, who's living alone, we are all finding this communal living in the new normal very, very difficult, right? And so it is important, and we don't know how long it will last, like Keisha said, right? So it's important to not only survive, but live and thrive. We don't want to just survive, we want to live and thrive with all our relationships, because after all of this is over, everybody is going to need the relationships of the friend, the family, the husband, the wife, the whatever. We're going to all need everybody. And so we have to learn how to keep the peace and cope, and at the end of the day, coming out looking your best self, like Alice said at the end of her presentation, taking care of yourself and living your best self, right? So my personal take on this is that other persons have survived other things in the past. This has come closest to home for us here in Jamaica. We have never experienced anything like this. And so it can be a little bit more pressuring on those persons, the younger generation who have never survived anything like this before. But there are strategies, there are ways that we can cope, right? And so I want to talk to everybody involved at this point in time. Now, the first thing, if I'm talking to persons who are living with someone, when you're married or you're cohabiting with someone, first thing I want to understand, and for everybody, just understand that we have designer differences. So I said to persons, if I acted a way you don't understand, blame it on the manufacturer. It's not my fault. It's a designer difference, right? We are different by design. It's an intentional thing because that's how you bring some completeness to the relationship, if it is. And even if you're in a household with different generation of persons, everybody is different. It no matter the genes. You're all different, right? And so if you are different, then you think differently, you act differently, you react differently to different things. So one of the things you should not do is to make assumptions about what the other person is feeling or thinking, right? Don't do that, because this virus thing that we're going through right now, it's an unprecedented thing, not only on a societal level, but for all our relationships, right? So you may have dealt with testing time before, or you may have had different experiences before, but do not assume that either your partner, the children, your grandmother, your auntie, your friend, that they're all thinking like you are thinking, right? Sometimes we feel that other persons are experiencing the same emotion. So you're sad at this time, so somebody else might be feeling sad. No, right? Everybody is just totally different. And assumptions breed resentment. And one of the things I tell a couple all the time, assumptions are probably about 99% incorrect. It's not like it's your female intuition informing you or something. It's an assumption, right? And so it's incorrect, and it lays down false expectations as well, right? And so these things, we're trying to stay away from these things. You may not want to, you may want to know as much as possible about what's happening with the COVID virus. I was scrolling every day. I was trying to find out what is happening, what's the latest statistic, everything. My husband wasn't doing that. You understand? So we have to remember that each person takes things how they want to take it. Some persons prefer to take it a day at a time. Other persons want to be on top of things. Nothing is wrong with either of those two things, but we just have to understand that not everyone thinks the same way, right? So we have to be careful of how we assume things, right? Remember that there are many different ways to cope with stressful situation. Your way is not the only way, right? So don't assume. Secondly, communicate verbally with the persons around you. It's important that you talk, because if you just shut up and slunk off into a corner and you're vexed because whatever it is that you're feeling, then how does somebody know what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're going through? So communicate verbally, because that helps to diffuse tension, right? And with so much going on right now, tensions running high, it can be hard to keep an open dialogue, especially if you're feeling scared or if you're upset. But sharing with the persons around you, your children, your grandchildren, your co-worker, your boss, sharing verbally what is happening can help, right? It is key to keeping the relationship solid throughout what we're calling the new normal. And this is a time of heightened anxiety, as I've said before, and it may create strong negative emotional reactions, anger, all of these things, frustration. This is one of the most common things I hear coming up. People are just frustrated at being cooped up in the same place, or trying to adjust themselves to dealing with the different things that are happening around you. But when you're experiencing the emotion, try to stay mindful of your responses, but share them just the same, right? Share your anxieties. It's okay. You know, we never deal with it before. So if you're struggling with your anxiety and how to respond, then the best thing you can do is to communicate it. Talk. Not let them tell you say you talk too much, but just talk, right? It's important for you to understand that, right? I shared, my husband and I were here together, and I'd asked him, because I was thinking about the thing and trying to stay on top of things and how it is. And I asked him, how are you feeling about the coronavirus? And he told me that he's very scared now. I never know that, you know, because this is the person who killed the rat and the curtain lizard and so forth and so on for me. So I never even know that he would be scared about it, but that's how he said. And that's good that he communicated that with me. So I now understand, say, don't try run and tell him every time I see that there's a spike. You know, just take my time on it, but I tell him like that, right? So I know how to do it. But verbal communication is key to clarify feelings, right? And try to be as clear as possible when you're doing this. So if you're frustrated, for instance, because you have to be doing this and that and managing the children and trying to do your own work, and then you have to stop and fix dinner because you're home now, and guess what? You're home and so they're expecting dinner, you know, like Keisha will tell Keisha not cook in front of nobody. But like we have to cook for somebody. So, you know, they're expecting dinner even because you're home. So you just try to communicate. And if you get frustrated, rephrase. We call it reframing exercises, so you can reframe, right? When they say something to you, you can say, is this what you mean? Or, you know, this is how I felt, not how you make me feel. Because the truth is, you know, people understand this. Nobody controls our emotion. We control them. You understand? So don't tell anybody about you make me feel this way. What kind of power that you're giving people to make you feel away? You control your own emotion. So you may communicate to the person that when you say this, you know, lack of sensitivity, or you don't have any tact. My husband say he has a lot of nails, or you're not exercising the tact when you talk about this. Then you share how you are feeling, but don't say you make me feel this way, right? So I want you to understand that every difficult conversation may need to be put on hold while you deal with current situation. Band is low, right? But if we communicate, we can get it together, right? So we need to communicate so that we can get it together, right? Right? So try to understand your partner's needs as you prioritize and you help, and just choose your battles wisely. Just choose your battles wisely. Now, the next thing is to gain perspective. I usually say where you stand determines what you see. COVID is a crisis, but your perspective on the crisis determines the outcome of your lives, your homes, and everything. I listened say it, I think it was last week or week before last, said never let a good crisis go to waste, or never let a crisis go to waste. So use this time of crisis and, you know, be creative. You understand? Be creative. You're in control of your thoughts, and so you're in control of your perspective. And a crisis is something that is beyond your control. So just accept and embrace that these circumstances are going to be testing. But one of the good things is it is not going to last. After every winter comes spring and then summer, and then you look for autumn again. So nothing lasts forever except God and his promises, right? So nothing is permanent. So it is going to pass. So just get the perspective that it's happening, and you can't control much about the happenings. What you control is your environment, yourself, and those you have influence or control over, right? So give yourself what I call some period of grace, and understand that with the best willpower in the world, conflicts are likely to happen under these circumstances. It is how you deal with the conflict that counts, right? So nothing wrong with conflicts. Conflicts are a natural part of life. They're natural, they're normal, they're neutral. But how you deal with them is what counts, and how you navigate what is happening in your home situation or your job situation is what determines the outcome. We deal with stress differently. Just don't expect the persons around you to be you. It's important, right? Our former prime minister say, balance the thing. And I want to tell you to balance the thing, right? Because life is really about balance, right? And everything is important, but not everything have the same importance. So when you're working at home, if you are working at home, create some sort of balance. You know, kids are there, spouses there. If you have extended family, they are all there. And you can't, I know your boss is probably listening to, but I don't think they expect you to be working right around the clock from the 9 to the 4, right? You have to set some structure in place and ensure that, you know, you cut some slack in terms of the persons around you, especially if you have small children around you. I mean, they're going to come to you at some point in time. So you have to learn to balance. It's not about having perfect balance. Nobody has perfect balance. We older folks, we don't even do gymnastics, so we don't have perfect balance, right? But we are balancing, right? So it's important to understand that, right? So there's a home life, work life. So you're at home, you set up your work corner, you set up the children and play corner and all of that. Do some balancing, like ensure that all of you take a break together. Because the children are in school at home. I know that because my granddaughter is in school at home, right? And hubby is coming home earlier, and I am working from home, and whoever else living with you is working from home. So if you start work at 8 o'clock in the morning, children start school at 8 o'clock in the morning at home, then somebody you take a break at about say 10 o'clock or so, and do it all together. Because if you are taking a break and the children are not taking a break, you have a problem. But if they are taking a break and then you are working, you're going to have a challenge. So plan to take the break together. So if it's a 10-minute break, you all take the break together. So you don't have to be saying, shh, because you're disturbing me and all that kind of a thing, because you're all on a little break together. It helps, right? And then you get to pay attention to the child or the children or the spouse or whoever is at home, and nobody's feeling like, they are left out of the equation. So balance the thing, right? It can be hard at the beginning to separate the two, the work life and the home life, but it's important to not do the what I call throw the baby with the bathwater, to think that you can do everything together, right? So establish some boundaries, of time for all parties involved. And many of you will struggle with working from home as it limits your capacity in many, many different ways. But try not to pile on any extra work stress on the thing, right? I tell my members, try to establish a routine. It's important to do that, right? So you do that. You just make sure that you put some things in place, some boundaries in place, and get the thing together, right? And when you're working from home, you see how we are now, because we're working from home, dress. I saw some videos going viral with persons who are supposed to be in work mode, who are in bed mode, right? So dress, get up and show up. I'm sure Alice will love that. I'm sure they will love that if you're from VM. And if you're not, I'm sure your boss will love the fact that even though you're home, you're looking like you're at work, right? So do that, right? It's, get up and show up, man, right? We are creatures of habit, so we want to do that, right? You want to get up and do what you know, so you're supposed to do to ensure that you are ready for work, right? And then while you're home too, you can use up some creative juices, to do some things. The Chinese say crisis is an opportunity, right? They don't have the word crisis in their vocabulary. What they have is opportunity. So use this time of crisis as an opportunity. Like Chef was showing you how to make whatever he made just now, right? You use this time, do some reminiscing, draw back the Ludi board and start playing some Ludi again, draw back the card game and those things that you had pushed aside for the gadgets and all of that. Pull back for those things and do some things together as a family. It helps lighten the mood at home, right? And the atmosphere gets lighter. The other day, my family and I, we played this long time game, boy, girl, animal place thing. I don't know if any of you remember that game or if you even know that game, but that was such a very lightening activity, lightening the moment. So do some things like that. Be creative in the moment and do something that will help you all to feel, not so feel so pressured, right? Because you're cooped up, yeah, in a space. I did something the other day. I drew out my wedding album. No, not even some of my grandchildren never see this, but I drew out my wedding album because I had some grandchildren here and they were looking at that and looking back at me when I was in my younger days and I still as a pencil and all of that. It's called nostalgizing, right? So we can do that too. So just be as creative as you want to be in your space, right? Also remember that if you are living together with somebody, cohabiting with somebody, and then the children and all of that, understand that everybody need a little bit of space. Space, yes, space. It doesn't mean that I don't love you because I don't want to be in your presence all the time. It is only in God's presence that there is fullness of joy. I don't always find it in your presence. So it's okay if I want to take a little space from you. We are the same. We are one, but we are not the same. And so a little space is okay. A little space from the kids, a little space from just a little space. We need a little space sometimes, right? So when you're with each other, you're trying your best to please the other person or to meet the other person's need, but you have to give yourself some space. And especially if you're living in apartments and you don't have an outside to go and stretch and all of that, it seems important. Just take a little downtime for yourself and give a little downtime to your spouse and give a little downtime to whoever else is in the house so that you can do something that pleases you. You can spend some time doing something for you. Whilst it's okay to do something for everybody else, you need to do something for you so that you can feel like you're making your own choices without getting any criticism from anybody else. It will help, right? And men especially like to pull apart to feel autonomous, right? They like to feel like they're in control. They like to do that. Give them a little space because they don't have any cave time now, because we're all in this thing together. Right? But a little space can help, right? So it would be a good idea to, if you have kids, to have a little timeout zone. This morning, I'm helping my granddaughter to make a little cozy corner for herself, in the house where she can sit and do a little thing for herself and create what it is, right? When we're stuck close together, the opportunity to be by yourself for a while is important. So give some space. It's important, right? So just take a short break in the space and do something. Now, in terms of the children, just the children, when you have children at home, and it depends on their age, the babies are toddlers, right? What they need is trust. The middle child, like the 5-year-old and stuff like that, they, want to know some sense of autonomy. The teenagers, they want some sense of support. It's 3 different age group of children, and all of them want different things from you, and they can't all be treated the same way. You can't shut up and go sit down in one corner kind of thing, right? And so you have to understand how to deal with the children. And listen to parents, if you're getting a little bit of frustration with the children, it's okay. It's okay, because them not come with no manual, They didn't come with any manual. We don't know how to do it. It's a trial and error, right? My kids are grown and gone, but it's a trial and error. And as I said, it depends on their age. And because you're all accustomed to different environments, and the environment has now become like a one environment, you need structures. So the structures I talked about earlier and the boundaries I talked about earlier, I call it rules of engagement, right? And then you give them rewards for effort. So for the little children, while they're going to school and they go to daycare, they get a little sticky or a little something that, encourages them. Do the same thing at home, right? Whether it's a lollipop or whatever, and give them too much sweetener because they'll get hyperactive on you, right? But something to reward them for their efforts. It's important, right? Even the children, even your spouse. I've been telling spouse, reward each other for efforts, man. You can do that, right? And try to carve out time to be spent together, like I said, right? So you do that break thing that I talk about together, and set some goals. Talk to them. Help them to understand. Don't expect that they will just understand that you are working from home. No. Sit them down and talk to them. I grew my kids on the Cosby Show. I learned how to have meeting for everything. So sit them down and talk to them and help them to understand that you're working from home. And though it is home and they should have freedom to do whatever, this is still a work environment for you. It's important to talk to them and not just to assume that they must understand because they're teenagers. Teenagers not understand nothing, by the way. Let me just tell you. You need to tell them. Them understand zero. You ever see these children when you ever in a vicinity where a high school let out and traffic is driving and them crossing the road and not even looking left nor right. Them just walking out in the middle of the road. And you're supposed to stop. So them don't really understand things like that. You need to tell them, right? So it's important that if you have them at home, give them a little chore to do sometime. Give them a little break time from that thing. Support the teenagers who are dealing with their identity and, them personality and them independence and all of these other things. It's important, right? And so you just understand what each age group need. And then you try as much as you possibly can to assist them. All kind of emotions are going on here, right? So for the kids, you are exercising some patience. You're applying some flexibility. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not break. Apply some flexibility, yeah, while you're doing that. It's like you're juggling like you're a clown, but you have to try and do it because it has to work. That's why I'm so happy. I can sing the song so happy, so very, very happy that my husband and I, right? But I understand how it is happening, right? So just apply flexibility and be interactive. It helps. Them can't take all the silence all the time. So talk about what you expect. If you need to change up certain responsibilities, change them up. And you should try to designate the different areas, like I said, the chill out, the privacy, the interaction. And if you are not living alone, draw up the rules. Just draw up the rules and everyone needs to know what is happening. Don't avoid answering the question, especially the 5-year-old, the 3 to 5, 6, 7. They ask a lot of questions. Why? And why? And why? And as soon as you answer one next to them, say why? And don't it? And answer them. Because they're not going to stop. So answer them. If you have small children, I know this not because of my own kids. I have grandkids now, as you heard, and I have one of the smaller ones here, the 5-year-old. So I understand, and she's not going to stop if you don't answer. So talk to them. Answer the questions about the coronavirus. Answer the questions why they can't have a friend over. You know, we just had a balling party on Sunday because Alejandra was told she cannot have a friend over at this time and she cannot go to a friend and she cannot understand why. But we helped her to understand and we talked to her about not wanting her to get sick and not wanting the other person to get sick and that kind of a thing. So just talk to them. Right, parents, probably you feel like, you know, you don't want to talk anymore about the virus and all of that. But if the children have legitimate questions and you refuse to answer them, it could cause more tension. So just talk to them, right? Kids are smart and they'll have lots of questions. Just talk to them about what is happening in a very factual way and you can help to alleviate that. Now, if you're single and you're home alone, like that movie, Dennis the Menace, with Home Alone, adjust your mindset. You are home and you are alone at home. Look here now. Look after yourself in this time while you're home alone. Right? You can eat ice cream out of the jug, nobody in the office here. Just do what you need to do. You can cook whatever. You can cook your one pot and nobody has to know. Just adjust your mindset and accept that this is what it is, right? Adjust yourself to the feeling of loneliness and use what you have. Use the gadgets that you have to make connection. You can do things like this. You can go WhatsApp videoing. You can connect with the people. As a matter of fact, it is while you're home alone, during times like this, you realize the people that are really important to you. You understand? And so you'll make more effort. So just do what you need to do, and it means accept the events that are beyond your control. You can't do anything about it because you're always living alone. And it don't mean, sir, after the COVID virus, you must try and see if you can go get somebody so that you can be an item. Because that might be the wrong decision. You might not take enough time to do that. And that might end up being the wrong decision. Just enjoy being with you. Too many people don't enjoy being with themselves. You know how many married persons are dying to be alone? Yeah? So if you're alone, enjoy it. Embrace it. It's a good time. It's a good time of singleness, right? And it's a good time of aloneness. So enjoy the time that you have now, because being with somebody else it can be a distraction, right? And you don't have time, as you heard earlier. I have to telling persons to beg for some time, right? So do something about it. Do something. You can probably journal your emotions. You might end up being a writer coming out of this. You know, an author coming out of this, right? So do things while you're in isolation to keep your emotions intact. Make a note of things that make you feel happy or accomplished or, you know, sad or whatever. Do some exercises while you're at home and just do some things emotionally, spiritually and physically to keep yourself. And as I said, technology affords connection, so use those things, right? And finally, just treat each other with kindness. It's important, right? We shout, you know, we grunt after each other, we snarl after each other. But regardless of who you're sharing your home with during this self-isolation period, every relationship can be improved with kindness, the thank yous, right? And all of those things. Just understand that everyone is going to be feeling some sort of strain. Even children who are delighted to be off from school right now, they are rearing to go back to school, right? And so there'll be a negative backdrop to this sometime. Just practice gratitude, practice kindness. Thank you to those persons that are around you. And yourself. Be kind to yourself. Praise yourself daily. God did not wait until he finished creating the earth in order to fingers. So just praise yourself daily as you go along and pray and establish a relationship with God, right? So whatever things are good and honest and true, think on these things as you're isolated during COVID-19 and just navigate as best as you can.
Thank you so much, Dr. D. We call her Dr. D, Dr. Dunbar. You know, boy, you had me up in my feelings when you talk about my business a while ago, but just, I do cook and I do cook well.
So, good. An invitation.
So there are a couple of questions for you. Coach, you want to take those questions? Right, or maybe yeah, I should ask this one because she's talking about me. They're talking about me. Since Coach does talk about my business, what's your advice for persons who live alone?
Oh, well, I just said that you're just to accept that this is something you cannot change. You can't do anything about the external situation. What you can do is control yourself at home. So probably, as I said, journal about how you feel. Use your social media platforms and connect with persons, right? And just accept the situation for what it is. Because Listen, you can scream the place down, or you can just say, you know what, I am home and I am alone. When I can get to go and visit with persons, I can. But for now, let's just do it on FaceTime. Let's just do it on WhatsApp video. That's where it is at this time. And take care of yourself while you're there, while you're at it. You're home alone. Do you. Look pretty, look beautiful, look handsome. Work on your biceps and your triceps and your Coca-Cola bottle shape.
Okay, coach. I will certainly work on the Coca-Cola bottle shape. But
I don't want that.
You work on the biceps and the triceps, coach.
I don't want the Coca-Cola bottle shape. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you. So Dr. D, want to thank you very much. Just to add to what can you do if you live alone. I mean, for me, I can speak to my own space. There are a lot of things. As a part of the VM group, we're always active, as you know, and so the team is always doing something, and marketing in and of itself is very busy. So there are times when you find that you don't do the things that you needed to do or wanted to do. This is a good time. This is a good time to fix the things in the house that needed to fix. Clear out that closet and give away some of the clothes to the persons who are in need. Those of you who are into fixing and building and decorating, now is the time to change up that space that you always wanted to change. Now is the time to set up and fix up the home office so you can work comfortably. Now is the time for you to actually think through your life. Like Alice said, talk to yourself. Say, self, where am I going next? What am I doing? If you want to answer, that's fine. But I'm just saying, time for introspection. You know, you may have things doing and you may be busy, but what I've found is that because I am not going out in the evenings, Ali Mash McCann earlier about stressed out, so you gotta have a drink, but you just a mash me up this evening. But take the time now when you're inside to be able to stop and think about the things. Am I on the right path with my life? That is not to go get depressed now. It's time for you to actually map out some things where you never get to think through, you know? And that's some things I found for myself. So just to add to my 2 cents to you, what you've said. Now, quick recap. Coach, I'm just going to run through some points and I'm going to say thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this evening on all our platforms, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You have been with us. David spoke about looking at your needs and your risk appetite. Listen, if you can't sleep at night after you've made an investment decision, then you've made the wrong one. If you're not sure how to approach or understand what your risk appetite is, that's why we're here. Now, we have wealth advisors, we have financial service specialists, and we are here for you to have the discussions, to talk you through. Don't worry about the fact that you may not have planted the seed and that the tree not at the 10-year stage, but talk to us. Let us help you at this point to start where you are. There's no better time than today. So don't worry about it. Talk to us and we're here and we will walk through. Now, Ali will tell you that she's sat down with people at all different levels in life, worked through their finances, have them look at different perspectives. Now, when I tell you about different perspectives, this is something she wouldn't have said, but in another setting, there's something she said that resonated so heavily with me, that you can pass on a good credit history to your child. I never knew that was possible. She spoke about putting your child on your credit card from early. And so when they get to a stage where they are now an adult, they can actually have a good credit history, providing, of course, that you've done justice and have kept your credit record clean. But all of this advice is useful for you. Turn them into opportunities. Take the time to look at where you are. Our experts are here. We have 16 locations in Jamaica. We have locations overseas. We have a number of channels that you can talk to us. All our channels, our social media channels are at Victoria Mutual Group. Feel free to post your questions, DM us, and we will get back to you. Now, can't stress this enough. Both Davy and Alison spoke to assess your decisions and make permanent positive shifts. COVID may be teaching you some things that you needed to learn a long time ago. And often I hear all of these exercise people like Alison. I can't speak to the exercise thing myself, but I've heard that it takes 21 days to develop a good habit. We've been in this for more than 21 days, and I suspect we might have a little more than 21 days left. Take the time to make permanent positive shifts. Take the advice you've been given. We will share on our channels over the next few days. Make the adjustments. Take advantage of what is ahead of you and what is at your fingertips. Pensions. Take advantage of the tax savings from pensions. Look now at your debts. You see, when you hit a crisis is when you really know how much money you have to work with, right? So now is the time to sit and look at your loans and look at, how am I coping in this time? Do I really have enough savings? Do I need to make some adjustments? So take note of those things and commit it. You never know how your life will change. You never know how it will impact your next big moves. So when you're making those moves, make sure you make them with us. Make sure you get the right information and the guidance. Dr. Dunbar, I don't need to recap for you, but let me just say, the one that keeps coming back to me is to take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Praise yourself. So many of us stuff things down our throat all the time because we have anxiety issues. Some of us are perfectionists and we want things to go a particular way. And so we stress ourselves out. Alison looked at me earlier and I was feeling very anxious, and she's like, why you do this all the time? And I said to her that this is something that happens to me all the time. But every now and then, people like Dr. Dunbar remind me that I need to give myself a break. I need to breathe and pat myself on the back a little bit and say, big up yourself, girl. You've done this. You've done something good today. So take care of yourself. Alison spoke to health as well. Thank you so much for joining us. As we said, persons who have come on and shared with us this evening, we have a great giveaway for you, dinner for 4, catered by Chef Shea. If you want to be able to win, then you can send us a message, comment in the chats, and we will send you the information you need. I see a question that says, where did I get the extra hand to pat on my back? Coach, leave me alone. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. We are committed at Victoria Mutual to supporting you through this time and all through the rest of your journey. We're here for you from childhood right to pensions, to retirement, and we want to be able to help you walk along the entire path of your life. Come into any location, give us a call, write us an email. We have solutions to support you throughout this entire journey. Thank you so much for joining us today, and see you next time on our next Making Moves, whether in person or when we go digital.